Can we hear it start up?
Sure can.
So it's a one-piece tilt front end now.
It's a 66 Fairlane.
This is my office right here.
Hi, Randy Bybee, Awesome Cars Forever. I'm here today in Pendleton, Indiana, at Falls Park, and I am at the Antique Engine and Tractor Show. I'm here today with Ron Barnhart, who's going to tell us all about this stuff. In fact, we're right in front of his area right now, so we can just start with his small engine.
Well, these are called hit and miss engines, and the reason why they call it where it had got the name hit and miss is because they don't hit every fourth stroke. They will run and kind of freewheel until a load is put on, and then they'll fire. If a heavy enough load's put on them, they'll fire every fourth stroke. But the term hit and miss comes from these old engines. So, and they were used on the many farms across the United States from around probably the 1870s all the way up into the 1940s. But then as electric became available across the country, farmers changed to electric motors, and they did all their chores through electricity. But what they did, they used these to run cream separators, corn shellers, corn grinders, mainly water pumps was the big labor saving, because if you had 50 head of cattle, they had to be watered every day. And the only way that before this power came along was to pump that water by hand, which may have been 200 to 500 gallons a day. So it was a huge task when they began getting these engines out and buying them and using them to do water pumping, and it freed up the farmer, one of the kids on the farm that did the pumping, and they could do more things around the farm rather than stand there for hours pumping water.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah.
So it was mainly they were developed as a labor-saving device out in the farm, and they evolved into what we have now in our huge diesel engines, car engines, truck engines, and this is really where all of this came about, is through these old things.
Well, you got a couple years running here.
Yeah, the one there that has the vertical cylinder and the kind of has a fuel tank up high, that spent its life underneath a windmill, where they pumped water with windmills, but if the wind doesn't blow,
Right.
you have to pump the water by hand. So that company also built windmills, so they developed an engine that you could set underneath the windmill, and if the wind didn't blow, you could just couple the pump up to the engine and pump water that way. So, and I found that one in southern Indiana on a farm.
Let's see, you're grinding corn here?
Yeah, I have a little grinding mill. It's what you call a firm mill.
There's the motor.
And what it is two cast iron plates that rub against each other, and they have little grooves cut in them where the kernel of grain goes between the grooves, and it will break that kernel or wheat grain or whatever into smaller pieces. And then
It's up in a bucket here.
yeah, and I've got it. This one grinds it pretty coarse, which pretty much is like crack corn that you feed chickens.
Okay.
And then over there we have an old air
Over here?
Yeah, an old air compressor that was in an auto shop back in the early 1900s. Probably ran everything that they needed air for in an auto shop, and we acquired it and we built it up to the gas engine, and my wife Kim blows up balloons with it. So
There you go.
yeah, so we put it to use, but we just mainly bought it because it was an unusual looking piece, and it gave us something to monkey around with, tease the kids with.
Oh, of course. Yeah. So, what do we got over here?
Over here, this young gentleman has fixed up several of them. This barrel that's rotating is a Butterstone, is a good example of what they did out on the farm. And then next to it is a corn sheller, where you stick a whole head of corn in it. Put a whole ear of corn in it, and it takes the grains off of the corn cob. And then next to it, he has a grinder where he can grind the corn.
Yeah. He's about filled that bucket up over there.
That's the problem.
I bet that's a good butter turner.
Yeah, that'd make a pretty good sized chunk of butter.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would. Well, let's move on down here to some of the bigger stuff, maybe. I'm sorry. Good turnout today.
Yeah, I'm pretty well pleased. There's one of those old guys that you see hobbling around at these places.
Sorry, how you doing? Didn't mean to walk in front of your camera.
Yeah,
That's all right. You'll see a couple of Randy Perkins' cars on my video.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're on there
yeah,
for all the world to see.
yeah, for all the world to see. This engine over here, Randy. This is it's a hit and miss, and it's a Lambert. And those of you that are interested in old cars, there was a car called the Lambert that was I think first built in Anderson, and they also built these engines. This engine was built in Anderson, Indiana.
Huh.
And there's not very many of them around. There's a few of them around, but they're very high quality machine work. Not something that you normally find in 1900. They're very precise. It runs really smooth, and they're hard to find if you want to look for one to buy.
I'll bet. I'll bet. What's this
And the
big thing over here on this trailer?
The big one is a 6-horse International.
6-horse International?
And it could have been used. It could have been used even in a factory or out on the farm. They could have run a threshing machine with it. It's big enough to run a pretty good sized threshing machine. You could ground corn with it, ground wheat. Just about a lot of different things. But when you say 6 horsepower in one of these, horsepower isn't very large, but the amount of torque they have because of the long stroke of the engine, I think I'd guess this one might have an 8 or 9 inch stroke on the engine with probably a 6 inch bore.
Yeah.
So they don't run real fast, but they transmit that power into a lot of torque, so they can run the old machines that they had back in the day.
This one runs fairly quiet too.
Yeah,
I see it says International Harvester on it.
yeah.
They built a lot of motors back then.
They build a lot of motors. And they built a lot of equipment. They made hay presses. I don't know if I think they made threshing machines.
Yeah.
They made a lot of different things for out on the farm. And they did a good job. And what they do now is still high quality machines.
I'll bet. Well, let's go over here and look at this thing. It says Indiana on it.
Well, here we need to see this gentleman's thing. These are from the Motsinger Device Company, which was located just across the creek from the park here.
Oh, really?
And these were made in Pendleton, Indiana, back in the very early 1900s. And what this one's called, they called this an auto sparker. And what it did was provided the ignition for these gasoline engines. It was like an aftermarket magneto system that you could put on your engine.
Auto sport.
Yeah.
Let me get a.
I thought that was full. Oh yeah, I did too. I wonder if they're over on the other side of the road. They might be taking what they get from the sports complex and running them over here.
I'll just follow you.
Okay, we'll go over. Go over here to the Indiana tractor. Now, I don't know much about these. I just know they were made in Indiana, and there's very few of them around. This one's owned by the New family, who's a long time steam engine tractor, engine collectors, old car collectors. They've been in the area for a lot of years.
Let me walk around this a little bit. See that huge chain back in here?
That's bigger than a motorcycle chain.
Yeah, quite a bit bigger.
Let's go to the big one.
Farmer family from Eastern Ohio. So what was this big thing designed to do?
located in a factory somewhere over in Ohio. They ran the entire factory. And back then they'd have line shafts, what they called line shafts, that ran through the factory to run all the machinery.
Yeah.
They'd have maybe have this down in the basement with a big belt that went up, and then they just transmitted the power by big flat belts.
Well, this says 50 horsepower,
Yeah.
which is a lot of horsepower back then. This is a big one.
And it operates on that same principle of low RPM, long stroke, lots of torque.
You know, I see over here we've got a 72 Chevy pickup truck. What are these over here?
Well, they're big. There's another example of farm engines that you ever found out on the farm. I think that's a Model T pickup.
Good shape. Good shape. Let's go back here and look at some tractors.
And we've got a pretty nice Model T.
Yeah.
Fella brought in. He's from over on the other side of Markleville.
Right. And you can see the video of both this truck and this Model T on Awesome Cars Forever. Looks like we got a good assortment here.
Yeah. We got a Minneapolis Moline diesel. I'm guessing, I don't know that much about tractors, but I guess it was from maybe the late 50s, early 60s. And one significance about that is that Pendleton had a Minneapolis Moline dealership.
Really?
Right out at the intersection of State Road 38 and Highway 67 for many years. So Minneapolis Moline was a pretty popular tractor for this area.
I see we got a McCormick Farm
Oh
All,
yeah, we have a Farm All.
or International.
Yeah. And there was an international dealer up in Anderson. So Farm Alls are pretty popular around here.
Then I had an uncle that always had John Deere's around.
Yeah. There was the dealership, there was one at Fisher's, and I think at one time there was a John Deere dealership at Fortville, over at down at Greenfield, which there still is one at Greenfield. And so, of course, John Deere's are pretty popular all over the world.
Good turnout today.
Yeah, well, we're pretty pleased with the amount of people that we've brought in, the amount of machines. Sunshine will do a lot for any kind of show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yesterday was cloudy, and there wasn't much activity.
Yeah.
If you bring that sunshine out.
Well, let me get a picture of a couple of these signs here. 36.
Oh, you can keep one of those anywhere. We just shove the car outside.
That's a little bigger than the rest of them.
Yeah. That would be a pretty good workhorse out on the farm.
Yeah.
Back when they used to plow, those would really pull the plow.
See more John Deere's and International, another farm all. Alice Chalmers. Well, Ron, I want to thank you for doing the video with me today.
Well, you're very welcome.
It's been interesting.
Glad you could come down, and I hope everybody that watches this enjoys it.
Okay, I want to thank all my subscribers, and please subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see everybody next time on Awesome Cars Forever. Thanks, Ron.